Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. On today's program, I will be giving my review of the season premiere of the Preacher series finale. Since the season premiere was 2 hours long and composed of both episodes 1 and 2, I will be breaking this down into 2 parts. In the first half, I will be going over my review of episode 1, titled Masada, and then in the second half, I will be going over episode 2, titled The Last Supper. Just to forewarn you guys, as always, this will be a recap and review of episode 1 titled Masada. So just to forewarn you, as always, there will be spoilers in this video. So if you are not caught up on the show at this point, well, you might want to exit stage left and save this video for a later date. However, if you don't mind all the details, well, certainly pull yourself up a seat, grab yourself a bottle of that fine rat water, and let's discuss the Preacher series finale, episode 1, titled Masada. At the start of the episode, we flash back to God's inevitable creation of the dinosaurs, and I'm pretty sure you guys know exactly where this is going to go. As it turns out, God is not particularly happy with his creation because one of the dinosaurs decides to take a shit while the other dinosaur decides to eat from it. So yes, you heard that right here, folks. God's destruction of the dinosaurs turned out because he didn't like their behavior of shitting and proverbially eating said shit. Then we flash forward to the more current time, and Tulip is by herself in a hotel room when somebody ends up walking into the room, and we can all assume that the person that she's talking to is Jesse. Well, as it turns out, the other person is Cassidy. So I can imagine many of you are thinking, where on earth is Jesse? Well, after a little conversation ensues, the scene just gets even more crazier when Tulip and Cassidy, well, they start making out. You're thinking to yourself, what the hell is going on? What is with these two getting together all of a sudden, and where the hell is Jesse? Well, your question is quickly answered by the next scene, which cuts to Jesse descending from the sky. Now, for those that have read the comic, we all know exactly what this scene is all about here. So Jesse falls from the sky and he's rendered unconscious. Then we flash back by 2 months to the current day. Tulip and Jesse are on the road towards Masada in hopes of rescuing Cassidy, and it appears that they were getting a little freaky deaky on the road because Jesse is pulling up his pants. There's the whole I love you exchange, and of course there's that wonderful phrase between the power couple, till the end of the world. After getting his poor ear talked off by a seraphim, Cassidy is removed from his prison cell by Featherstone and taken to another area of Masada. On the way there, Featherstone reveals to Cassidy that they are using him as bait to lure Jesse into their trap. Plus, you gotta love all of the various levels of torture rooms that they have available in Masada. We are then introduced to a character from the comic named Frankie Toscani. Frankie here is giving a lesson to a few Grail members on how to properly torture someone, all before he sets his sights on inevitably torturing Cassidy. Then we cut to Jesse and Tulip converging upon a group of oblivious Grail members in the midst of song and dance. Jesse uses the word on them and enlists Tulip as the leader ahead of this operation. So they're going to use these people as a ways of getting them inside Masada. Next, we cut to the Saint of Killers and Eugene showing up at Angelville, and much to the Saint's chagrin, Angelville is burnt rubble and Jesse is nowhere to be found. So obviously he knows that he's got to take his mission elsewhere to find Jesse. Next, we have Jesse putting his plan into place. He shows up at Masada, is greeted by Hair Star, and Jesse is under the guise that he is completely alone and unarmed. Well, Hairstar, being the paranoid one that he is, and rightfully so, he put his own plan into motion by having both him and his colleagues accompanying him wearing headphones. And to stay even further on top of the game, he enlisted the assistance of a deaf-dumb interpreter that basically, as you can see, would not be affected by Jesse's powers. But of course, little to Hairstar's knowledge, the very people that have accompanied him are the same people that Jesse used the word on. So of course, Hairstar falls right into Jesse's trap. Once the gunfire has subsided, one of the members of the Grail under Jesse's control that didn't get hit by any of the flying bullets takes Jesse to Cassidy's prison cell. Jesse is then confronted by Frankie and a few of his henchmen. More gunfire is exchanged, and Jesse and Cassidy are booking it as fast as they can to get out of Masada, while at the same time bickering like an old school couple. Tulip is then escorted to the entrance of Masada by what's left of those in the Grail that is still under the control of the Word. Well then, Tulip's plan backfires when one of the Grail members ends up going completely off script and revealing that she is working for Tulip. Then that poor Grail member ends up getting squashed by the front entrance door. As Tulip is trying to pry the door open, the squashed Grail member ends up revealing to Tulip that she cannot just pry open the doors, that there is a switch that she has to climb up to unlock. Once Tulip reaches the top of the cliff to go somehow turn the switch back over to open the doors, she is then greeted by that good old mom-haired bitch Featherstone. And I thought this scene was really funny because they both shot at each other at the same time, and the bullets, well, converged and hit each other, and they both came out completely unscathed. As Tulip and Featherstone are fighting over the switch to the front entrance door, Cassidy and Jesse are in the elevator, and, well, let's just say that things get a little heated between the two. Cassidy thinks that Jesse should stop acting like the hero in every encounter that they're in, and Cassidy obviously is still not over his crush on Tulip, and Jesse really does not like that, and he wants Cassidy to drop his love for Tulip. And, well, the tension builds up between the two, and of course a fight ensues between the two, because obviously these two have to fight like a married couple, only for it to break out into a fist fight. Meanwhile, down in that one meeting hall, it turned out that Hairstar is the lone survivor of the shootout. Surprise, surprise. And then, of course, to the surprise of absolutely no one, he did use the deaf-dumb old lady as his little meat shield. But of course, Hairstar did not come out of this shootout completely unscathed. When he took off his headphones, it was revealed that a bullet got lodged inside his headphones, and his one ear ended up getting shot off. Then, after getting their much-needed physical aggression out, Jesse and Cassidy reached the exit to Masada. But apparently then, after much thinking, Cassidy decided that he was going to stay behind. He tells Jesse as soon as the doors start closing in, he said that he's got this. This basically implies that Cassidy is wanting to prove to himself that he can do things on his own, that he wants to prove to himself that he really does not need Jesse's help to get him out of sticky situations. Then Jesse meets up back with Tulip at a bar, which I can only assume is on the outskirts of Masada. And he breaks the news to Tulip that Cassidy decided to stay behind, and she's completely dumbfounded by this, which rightfully so. I can absolutely understand why. It's like, why on earth has Cassidy decided to stay behind? What on earth does he have to prove? And then Jesse has this thought that's been plaguing him since season 3, when Cassidy revealed to him that he was indeed sleeping with Tulip. So he took this opportunity to confront Tulip and ask her if she truly did sleep with Cassidy, which Tulip responds with a resounding no. Obviously, we know that she is lying in this case, and I have a feeling this is absolutely for sure going to come back to bite poor Tulip on the ass. Then next we cut to Jesse and Tulip in bed. Jesse ends up seeing what appears to be an explosion just outside the window, and he sees a rock on fire. And then followed by that, he ends up getting a phone call from his own dad saying that it's now time for him to pursue God. Then, as it turns out, the flaming rock that Jesse saw, as well as his phone call from his father, all turned out to be a dream. And as he's waking up, he ends up getting attacked by Herr Starr. And he ends up flipping Herr Starr over and starts strangling him, and then it's revealed that Herr Starr is Tulip. So we've got an inception going on here in the Preacher universe. And Tulip ends up telling Jesse that it's now his time to find God. I think you all know what this means. These are all flags going off for Jesse. Like, hey, I think it's time for you to pursue God. Now's the time to finalize this journey. Then when Jesse wakes up from his final dream sequence, he writes Tulip a note, I can only assume is a goodbye letter, before setting off on his final mission to find God. So at this point, for each of our three protagonists, Jesse has taken off to go find God once and for all. Tulip is asleep, completely unaware that her own boyfriend just walked out on her, and Cassidy, after deciding that he was going to stay behind, he gets caught by Frankie and is thrown back into his jail cell. Then we cut to Herr Starr in his office being talked to by Featherstone. Featherstone apologizes to him for letting Tulip and Jesse slip right out of her hands and swears to him that it will never happen again. When she leaves, Herr Starr opens up the fridge, pulls out a can of Dr. Pepper, and pours it for the person that is in the room with him. And as it turns out, sitting right across from Herr Starr is God. And Herr Starr tells God that he's basically venting to God about how on earth could he have let Jesse slip right from his hands, which God tells him, oh, don't you worry, dear Herr Starr, we are going to make Jesse suffer. And that's where the episode ends. And of course I kept thinking to myself, what on earth did God mean that he is going to make Jesse suffer? I guess we will find out in the upcoming episodes. And now to give my overall thoughts on episode 1, Masada. I must say this was a very solid start for the season. Things were picking up at a really good pace. I really liked a lot of the dynamic between each of the characters. I loved the fight sequences. That's one thing that this show never fails to amaze me at, is the wonderful fight sequences, especially between Tulip and Featherstone, and then of course you got the fight between Cassidy and Jesse. And I love the dynamic between Jesse and Cassidy. Now, if there was one thing that I really did not like about this episode, that would actually surprisingly be the very beginning with God and his creation of the dinosaurs. Don't get me wrong, I love the humor in this show, and I understand that humor is very subjective, but I don't know. To me, this particular joke with the reason why God ended up destroying the dinosaurs, it just felt really weak to me. If you compare this sequence with some of the other sequences where they've utilized humor, it just really falls flat, especially when you compare that to the scene where Tom Cruise explodes. This was in the very first season. It just, I don't know, it really did not impress me in the slightest. And I think they really could have done a better job with going with some other idea as to why God destroyed the dinosaurs. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I'm curious to know exactly what you guys think. And that wraps up the first half of the Preacher final season premiere review. Stay tuned for the second part, in which I will cover my review of episode 2, titled The Last Supper. And until next time, dear friends, this is Cynical Lindsay, signing off.